Yeah, it's tough. When you're trying to make sure that we stay profitable, and you get a bill like this that you're not expecting, it definitely chills you to the bone.
Skyrocketing utility bills impacting just about everyone.
Daunting to think about now going into the summer, and air conditioning is going to be outrageous to pay for. We're probably going to be spending more of the time opening windows. Hopefully we don't get too hot of a summer.
Over the next hour, we put a spotlight on escalating energy costs across the country and here at home, leaving customers feeling powerless.
We'll explore why we're seeing the higher bills and possible solutions to help those feeling the pinch.
Good Wednesday morning. Thanks so much for joining us for this special edition of ARC Rochester Current Costs.
Throughout the hour, we're going to be focusing our conversations on the local impact of those rising energy costs and utility bills.
Not only will we be hearing from RG&E and NYSEG, as well as state officials, but we'll also hear from you, taking your comments and asking the questions you want answered.
Absolutely. Before we jump into our first interview, we do want to take time to mention some of the organizations and lawmakers who denied our request for an interview or statement.
All right, so National Grid and State Senator Jeremy Cooney both declined our invitation to join us this morning to weigh in on the current high price of energy.
State Senator Pam Helming accepted our invite, however, canceled our interview scheduled for this morning.
We also reached out to Senator Samara Brook, State Senator Rob Ort, Fairport Electric, and Spencerport Electric. However, we did not receive any response back.
Governor Kathy Hochul also declined our invitation to join us, but we did receive a statement from Ken Lovett, the Senior Communications Advisor on Energy and Environment for the governor's office.
That statement reads in part, quote, "The governor has made it clear that energy costs in New York are too high, which is why she has called on the utilities and the regulators to prioritize affordability. It's also why she's pushing her ratepayer protection plan to make utilities more accountable, hold the line on executive salaries, make state energy affordability programs more accessible for eligible New Yorkers, and hidden fees, and keep future price increases down. The governor is working to change New York law to protect ratepayers from additional cost and has adopted an all-of-the-above approach to energy to keep lights on and costs down for hardworking New Yorkers." Now, while some leaders chose not to join the conversation this morning, others did. That includes one of the companies at the center of this issue for many local customers.
Yes, we're joined now by Patricia Nilsen, the CEO of RG&E and NYSEG, to talk more about those rising costs, what's driving them, the relief, and what customers can expect. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with us, Patricia. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Abby. I really appreciate the fact that you're taking time out of your program to highlight this issue. And frankly, we feel stuck and out of the ability to control this as well, because we're only 40% of the bill, and we're the part of the bill that's highly regulated. Every cent that we spend, everything that we plan is highly scrutinized by the Public Service Commission, as it should be, because we're a regulated utility. That's our job, to be highly scrutinized and have everything examined closely, every expenditure questioned. And it's what the Public Service Commission should be doing, and they do well. They actually sit in our offices in Rochester. We meet with them regularly. We just filed a quarterly report on all of our vegetation management. Coming into the first quarter, there's a lot of reporting that we're doing to the Public Service Commission right now. I wish you had the people here who could talk about the other 60% of, on average, the RG&E bill, the part that we can't control, like, for instance, supply, which is a price pass-through. We have to purchase supply. Those suppliers are making unprecedented profits. Their profits are not capped like ours are. Unfortunately, that has been, besides energy use because it's been so cold, supply price has been a big impact in our customers' bills. Our rates haven't changed since last May.
Well, I want to talk about that because at the end of last year, there was reporting that nearly 70,000 of your customers were $92 million in arrears. And I know that there is a current rate case before the PSC right now for another rate hike that would begin in 2027, though many customers just saw one just a couple of months ago that was wrapping up another 3-year round. How does the company expect customers to be able to pay another $52 on their bill if they're already in arrears?
Well, actually, the last time rates changed was May of 2025 for the delivery portion of the bill. And we weren't anticipating that the full ask was going to happen in 1 year. We filed a 1-year proposal with the hope that we could spread those costs over anywhere from 3 to 5 years to minimize the bill impacts for our customers. So that was one thing that we were trying to do. Also, some of the things that we've been working on with local legislators, with the governor, with the Public Service Commission is low-income assistance for our customers. So customers who can't pay the bill need to be, and we do provide assistance to them to help them pay their bill. There's a number of customers who may not be paying their bills simply because they're prioritizing other things. Obviously, if you're using energy and you have the ability to pay, you should be paying, but absolutely agree. And that's why we've been holding a number of community connection events all across our service area in Rochester, in NYSEG service area, to partner with local DSS, local agencies. We bring our customer advocates and our customer reps. I've gone to a number of them as well, and we sit down one-on-one with our customers, looking at the bill, matching them up with assistance. We've been able to have more than $30 million in HEAP assistance as a result of all of the customer contacts and all the work of our local county agencies. 30 million of assistance is coming into our area. Emergency HEAP is still open, and we encourage customers, don't wait until you're in trouble. Contact us, and contact us now.
All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the Home Energy Assistance Program, or HEAP as it's called. It's very helpful for those who qualify for it, but at a time where people are paying more at the grocery store, at the pharmacy, and pretty much everywhere else, there may be some who are struggling but who don't qualify for that program. What would you say to them?
I say to them that they should reach out to us. Customers have the ability to, first of all, go on budget billing. Any customer, and hey, I'm on budget billing. I've been on it for decades. Budget billing takes your costs and takes those seasonal spikes and takes them out of the equation. So when you're using more energy and you go on budget billing, it lowers your bill to an average monthly cost. It spreads it out over the year. So you're obviously, per the name, able to budget for it. So you're paying the same amount every month, even though in those peak months, you're using a lot more energy. Essentially, you're using more energy and you're paying for it later. That's the one thing I encourage everybody to do. Just a good way to plan. The other things are payment agreements. If you can't pay your bill, again, contact us immediately. We can put you on an installment plan, a standard agreement, or even a minimum payment agreement, which is $0 down and $10 a month for the length of time it takes to pay off whatever you owe. Part of the reason, maybe to back up, that arrears are so high at the company is during COVID, there were times that we weren't able to read meters. For more than a year, we weren't in homes reading meters. We weren't being able to issue customers accurate bills. And because of that, and 3 different tranches of arrears forgiveness the state did, we had people who built up a lot of arrears over time. And that's really what we're still trying to work our way out of.
Patricia, I want to, if we can, kind of shift here and talk a little bit about transparency within the company. There is concern by some consumers because, as we know, Avangrid was taken private by its parent company in 2024. So financial transparency is not something we get at the ready. What can you tell us about that and the efforts within the company to make sure that everything is open to the public, to the ratepayer, so we know where our fees are going?
Mm-hmm. So I think that what I started out with, we're a regulated company. Our books are public. Obviously, the Public Service Commission looks at everything we do and all of our charges. They will have some confidential information. Obviously, what we do is we protect and we maintain critical infrastructure. So they will keep confidentiality, but they do examine every single charge we have. So any expenditures that we have, which includes salaries, it includes healthcare costs, it includes union wages, it includes the cost of materials, the cost of our projects, how much we're spending and where we're doing our vegetation management. What projects are we prioritizing in terms of repair? How much do we spend on storms? What do storm invoices look like with our contract crews? All of that information is provided to the commission. So there is full transparency and they fully review all of our information.
And then sticking with transparency, you know, we've heard from a lot of people who had questions surrounding the temperature data printed on their bills from February into March. And, you know, we spoke with representatives and they said that there was a software upgrade that was responsible for that error, which listed February and March historically around 12 to 13 degrees. People were able to verify those numbers just by looking at weather data. But many are asking, what else do we need to know? Can we trust those numbers? Are the other numbers that we can't verify actually accurate? What would you say to that? And is there a plan for more transparency, more of a breakdown for the consumers?
Yeah, so as far as the temperature data, we appreciate the fact that customers reached out. We do review our bills and the calculations. We didn't catch the fact that the temperature was lower than average on that chart, and certainly probably would have caught it as we got into the warmer months because that February timeframe was, and frankly, the winter as a whole was astronomically cold. So the calculations on our bill are done and are checked and are monitored, and we continue to do so. I get it. Our bill is complex, and it's complex because of the array of charges that we do have to have. And in fact, many of those charges are government charges, different government programs, mandated fees, taxes. Again, probably 12% on average of your bill at RG&E are government costs. 44% is supply costs. So, you know, we're actually the smallest part, you know, of the bill. If you say delivery cost is one part, the larger part of it, if you put taxes and government fees and supply costs together, there's more on the RG&E bill that isn't actually RG&E.
Yes, but just to push back on that a little bit, more is going to be added on to the bill that is RG&E and not the other way around, correct?
Only if our rate case was approved. But at this point, we're in a process where we're awaiting the result of the litigated rate case. So there will be most likely a 1-year rate case that will go into effect. We're awaiting that approval. At the same time, our costs have dramatically increased. You talk about the costs at the grocery store, at the gas pump. The same is applying for us. The cost of our materials, the cost of producing and maintaining our system, which is an aging system, the cost of being able to provide reliable service has increased. The age of our infrastructure is really starting to impact our customers. I've talked to some of our employees who work in the system in downtown Rochester, and they work on underground circuits that date back to 1910 and 1920. Those systems need to be maintained and replaced. 400,000 of our customers experienced outages last year that were based on the age of our equipment. 50% of our poles, which is over 700,000 poles, are 50 years old or older. We've got aging infrastructure that needs to be replaced in order to provide safe service for our customers.
We absolutely do. Hey, stick around. We've got a lot more to come right here on ARC Rochester. Current cost, including when we come back, we are going to continue our conversation with Patricia Nilsen.
Yeah, we'll also be joined by the Economic Development Manager from NYSEG and RG&E.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to ARC Rochester Current Cost. We're continuing our conversation about the rising energy costs and their impact here at home. We're bringing in more perspective right now this morning.
Yeah, Patricia Nilsen, the CEO of RG&E and NYSEG, is still with us via Zoom. And joining us here in studio, we have Joe Sayre, the manager of economic development for RG&E and NYSEG. Thank you all very much for continuing this conversation with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so our area is working really hard to build up economic growth locally, bringing in new businesses, different opportunities for entrepreneurs. Does utility rate come up as a concern for those who are looking to bring their business to our area?
Yeah, absolutely. But Joe, you go ahead and talk about some of the experiences you have.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Trish. Yeah, the rate that businesses are going to pay for electricity and natural gas supply definitely comes up as part of the conversation. But the bigger piece of the conversation is capacity and availability of electricity in the area. And that's what makes the investments we have proposed in our rate case so important. We were proposing to bring on over 250 megawatts of capacity to the greater Rochester region over the next 5 years, which would really open up the path for a lot more housing development and industrial commercial development to occur.
But is there industrial commercial development that toys with the idea of coming to Western New York and then sees the current state of the infrastructure and the current rates that consumers, the ratepayer, is paying and says, maybe we'll try in a couple of years. We're not going there now.
So yes, but it's more of the current state of infrastructure, which ties back to the investments we want to make in the rate case. The cost of electricity, those are conversations I have with existing businesses in the greater Rochester region on a regular basis. So for example, this past winter, I got calls from some business owners and their bills skyrocketed. And so I sat with them and walked through their bill with them, and it was pretty obvious that it was supply driven and not our portion of the bill that drove those increases.
I want to focus on that just for a quick second here about the transparency and about walking people through what it is they are seeing when they get that in the mail or in their email. How readily accessible is somebody out there who can explain what it is that they're looking at when they see those startling numbers? Patricia, maybe you could weigh in on this. Are they going to talk to somebody here locally? Are they going to speak to somebody who is, miles and miles and miles away?
Yeah, they can come into one of our local offices and talk to one of our customer representatives. They can call and talk to a customer representative by calling 1-800-743-2110. They also can attend one of the community connection events that we hold. We've done them in fire halls and community centers, in the YMCAs. Those events allow them to talk to a number of different folks one-on-one in person. So there's a variety of ways you can get information. Joe gives a prime example with going out and speaking to local businesses. Our customer advocates meet with folks as well. There's a variety of ways that you can get information face-to-face if that's your preference. The other thing I would encourage everybody to do is download the RG&E or NYSEG app on their phone and get our energy manager tool. Particularly if you have a smart meter, you can see your daily energy use that way. Our representatives are now using that tool when they talk to customers. If a customer has a question about their bill, they can dive in and look at that same use and help customers diagnose what the causes may be for a higher bill than normal. The other thing you can do is you can also view that online on a computer or tablet with just as long as you have a login.
This one's really for both of you. We've got several community-run programs, community-run utilities across Western New York, Fairport, Spencerport, Bergen, and as I'm sure both of you are aware, within recent years, the Monroe County Legislature has shot down a $1 million feasibility study for Rochester residents to come up with their own community utility. Now, I know it would be pushing business away from avant-garde RG&E, NYSEG kind of thing, but I'm wondering if that is something that Avangrid would actually back to help the consumer.
We don't think it's a good decision for the consumer. Absolutely not a good decision. So no, we don't support the idea. First of all, it would mean 267 million in local taxes would be disappearing from the greater Rochester region. You know, it's property taxes, it's to Monroe County, to the city of Rochester, to school districts, to communities in Monroe County alone. In addition, it would lose a lot of investment. So those local municipal electric companies are smaller and in fact are starting to deal with some of the same costs of supply and infrastructure issues that we're dealing with. RG&E is transmission, substation, and distribution lines. It's a significantly larger footprint. And with that, it also has been brought $1.1 billion in investment from Avangrid. If that company no longer existed, first of all, Avangrid would need to be made whole for those investments that they made, and someone would have to be paying for those investments in the future. You'd also see about 800 jobs that would be not in the area anymore or would be changing dramatically. And in fact, you'd have union workers who would be having to change their union affiliation.
Joe, would you care to weigh in?
I would agree with everything that Trish said. You know, I think there's a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to government-controlled power. And, you know, Fairport and Spencerport, as Trish mentioned, those are distribution-only systems, which allow them to charge lower delivery rates because they don't have the size or scale of the system we have. They also benefit from agreements on the supply side that wouldn't exist anymore today. And I know in Fairport specifically, over these winter months, they've actually sent out letters to their residents or ratepayers discussing this issue, how they're utilizing their allocation on supply very early and then having to switch to market rate, which has driven costs up for those customers as well.
All right. Well, listen, thank you very much for your time. Patricia Nilsen, CEO of NYSEG RG&E, thank you so much for your time as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go far. When we come back on ARC Rochester Current Cost, Steph is taking a closer look at the impact rising energy costs are having on local business owners.
We're back right after this.
Homeowners and renters are not the only ones feeling sticker shock after this winter's recent energy bills. I checked in with 2 businesses in Rochester South Wedge as they navigate higher bills.
Spring has sprung, but winter's wrath seems to be lingering on in energy bills.
It definitely, chills you to the bone.
That's the reaction from Vince Eulerich, interim general manager at Abundance Food Co-op in Rochester, after he saw the grocery store's recent RG&E bills.
We typically see our energy bill in the $2,000 to $2,500 range.
The store's February bill rose above $3,600, which was about 82% higher than January's charges.
So we've seen the cost of goods rise by about 10 to 12% over the past year, and that's affected by tariffs, that's affected by, oil prices have direct effect on, on shipments and deliveries. And, as you can see, the utility, our energy bill is increasing by a lot more than 10%.
And while he's trying to avoid raising prices,
the cost of living is affecting everybody here. So as much as we can absorb the burden, we will.
The owner of Equal Grounds Community Cafe told me last month she already had to make operational adjustments.
Our RG&E bill has tripled, so I have to delegate using some funds from payroll to actually switch it over to RG&E, and I have to shorten our hours. When things pick up in the summertime, maybe we can extend our hours, but for now, I can't strain the business and give what I don't have.
Abundance Food Co-op is prepared to make changes if needed.
I think that as we see a number of these costs rising, we're going to need to figure out a way that we can make up the difference. And so that is going to lead to tough choices.
In a previous statement to 13 WHAM, RG&E noted that statewide demand for electricity and natural gas increased due to last winter's colder temperatures. The company says that usually drives up supply prices, which are set by the market, and it does not profit from. In the case of Abundance Food Co-op, RG&E delivers their energy, and the store has a separate agreement over supply costs with an energy services company. Stick around, there's much more to come here on ARC Rochester Current Cost. We're back after this.
(9:31) this Wednesday morning. Thanks so much for staying with us for this special edition of ARC Rochester Current Cost. We're continuing to take a closer look at the local impact of rising energy costs and utility bills.
In our last half hour, we heard from the utility side of the issue, but now we want to focus on what is happening at the state level. Lawmakers are hearing from constituents and looking at what can be done to address the rising costs.
For more, we are joined now by State Assemblyman Stephen Hawley. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your morning to speak with us.
Great to be with you. I've got my electric lights on here. I hope it's not too bright.
No, you look great. Thank you again. I want to dive right in, particularly within your district, because your district is split. You've got RG&E on one half and you've got NYSEG on the other half. So the ratepayer is really getting hit right now on both ends in your district. And I'm wondering what they are saying to you, what you're hearing from your constituents.
Well, some of the statements are not able to be shared with you on air, but they're struggling to make ends meet. The cost. I had a gentleman from Rory in Genesee County, right on the Monroe County line, who indicated to me that his price had gone up for electric by 15-fold, up to about $2,300 a month, and a year ago it was about $1,100. Now, that's a lot of electricity, but the real deal is he's got a big house, but it's doubled in just the past year. And a lot of it can be traced to the actual climate action plan that was initiated back in 2019 by those that would indicate that our fossil fuel is polluting our air and we want more green energy.
Now, back in February, you joined other members of the New York State Assembly urging the governor to declare an energy state of emergency. In that letter, you suggested suspended taxes, fees, and surcharges on energy bills. So how much of an impact would that actually have on a typical bill for the average household out there in Leroy?
Right, and I do have the west side of Monroe County, the Hamlin and Clarkson and Sweden as well as Wheatland. So I do have a combination of suburban as well as more rural areas. What we're indicating that we ought to probably do or consider is an income-based rebate check of up to $400 for utility ratepayers and direct reduction on monthly utility bills and returning a surplus in uncommitted funds in NYSERDA's climate investment account that actually looks like $2.4 billion with a B dollars back to ratepayers as bill credits. That would help them to be able to continue to afford while we slow down and make more realistic the plans for turning our area into a more affordable living.
Assemblyman, North Star audit that was recently done before a previous rate case by the state showed that the Avant-Grid does not have a strategic plan in place, that none of that is done locally. Finance is not controlled locally, nothing like that. But there is a current rate case for $220 million to start in 2027. In the Assembly, what are the talks? What is the mindset? What do you want to see happen with the Public Service Commission? They have approved all of the rate cases put before them since, I believe, 2020 now.
Yeah, and of course, as you may have referenced earlier, I wasn't on the air, but NYSERDA, just at the end of February, all these people are appointed by the governor, came out with a memo on February 26th, actually, indicating that the CLCPA's goals for 2030 were virtually impossible to attain, and that it would put many, many businesses, small and large, in peril or out of business, and the costs for gasoline, the costs for other kinds of fuel would be absolutely out of this, over the top. One of the things I'd like to mention is the amount of CO2 emissions that New York State produces is about 3% of the total for the United States, and 4/10 of a worldwide CO2 emissions. So we'd like to slow this down. We'd like to have consumers have a choice, and we'd like to have more realistic goals put in mind as opposed to just full steam ahead. And by the way, the state has yet to initiate electricity being used in buildings as well as their vehicles all over the state of New York. It's another case of do as we say, not as we do.
Assemblyman, what needs to happen? I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. What needs to happen in the long term and the short term to prevent these kinds of high energy bills from becoming a new normal for New Yorkers? Because so many are having sticker shock, so to speak, when they get the bills in the mail or in their email. A lot of them thinking, I can't keep up with this. Maybe 1 or 2 months in the winter, sure, I can foot that bill. But long term, they're not going to be able to deal with that for too much longer.
Right, and that's what I've been hearing up and down the board from my folks that I represent. I think we really need a full cost-benefit analysis and an emissions delay. Anytime in business that we're attempting to do something new, there's something that needs to be done that says, can you go ahead and do this or not just jump into something nilly-willy, which is what the state of New York has done. We need to have the PSC commission a full and complete cost-benefit analysis of renewable energy goals based on that CLCPA that was passed in the middle of the night in 2019. It would require that costs be considered for greenhouse gas regulations and extend emissions deadlines by 10 years. That's Assembly Bill 5395 that I happen to be a co-sponsor on. We need to be realistic. It's wonderful to read and regurgitate memorized facts. It's wonderful to want green energy. I'm all for that. Unfortunately, I have the largest solar farm in the state of New York in my assembly district, starting from the Monroe County area all the way through Genesee County and up into Orleans County, taking green crops, green prime farmland, out of production for green energy. We need to cease this. We need to stop and step back and do an analysis to be sure that we're heading in the right direction for our constituents and ratepayers.
State Assemblyman Stephen Hawley, thank you so much for your time this morning. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right, we have much more to come here on ARC Rochester Current Cost. When we come back, we're taking a look at where you stand, reading some of your comments and questions.
We're back right after this.
Welcome back. We're continuing our conversation on rising energy costs in this special edition of ARC Rochester. We know this has been a topic that's been sparking a lot of reaction, so we went right to you.
Yeah, we pulled some of the comments and some of your questions that you've been sharing on social media, and we want to bring your voices into this conversation right now and take a look at where you stand.
Stephanie Joseph is over at the live desk. She's taking a look at some of your thoughts. Steph, what can you tell us?
Yeah, guys, well, we've received dozens of comments from people across our community. One common theme was disbelief about the rising prices over the last couple months. So we'll start out with Gina Marie, who said, quote, "They're charging people like it's a luxury to have electricity. No matter how hard I try to lower my energy use, the bill does not reflect it." As for Cheyenne, she says her bill used to be $100 to $200, and she's now paying $500 a month, sometimes $550 for a 2-bedroom. Cheyenne adding, quote, "I unplug everything unless it's in use," and she's calling her bills diabolical. Kelly Albert also saw a sharp increase from $500 monthly to $850, $979, and $1,487, despite usage virtually remaining the same each month. Well, Matthew is offering his thoughts on the factors that could contribute to each bill, saying, quote, "Most people I know live paycheck to paycheck and cannot afford these insane cost increases, and it's not usually about usage as it is delivery fees." So a lot of thoughts here, people weighing in on social media, kind of sharing some confusion as well about what exactly they're seeing. But again, this rise overall seems to be that common theme as well.
Absolutely. Confusion and some struggles with transparency, I would say. We spoke with Patricia Nilsen, the CEO of RG&E and NYSEG, at the beginning of the hour. She suggested folks download the RG&E app to get some clearer ideas of how that money is being spent. But, you know, on the other side of that, we've heard people say the app is not necessarily user-friendly and is hard to navigate and hard to understand what it is that they're looking at.
Well, and Steph, I'm sure you've seen in the comments, you're talking not just about the costs of the bill, but the actual breakdown, the look of the bill. And listen, I give them credit for color coding and everything, but there is a lot of information here, and it's very difficult for an uninformed consumer to be able to digest something like this.
And I think that's where a lot of the confusion is coming from. You had heard in the last comment that mention of delivery. A lot of people may not know the difference between what supply represents and delivery, and there are a number of charges on that document that you have in your hand that a lot of people may not be aware of.
Sure, but those rate cases that go before the Public Service Commission, those are all passed on to the ratepayer. Those only go through the delivery channel. Those don't impact the actual cost of the product, of the electricity.
It'll be curious to see what happens in the warmer months. We heard from some folks in the story that you did, Steph, small business owners who were trying to come up with ways to cut down on that cost, whether it's opening the windows, whether it's unplugging electronics, so on and so forth. It will be interesting to see if any of that has any kind of impact, and hopefully not as warm of a summer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that is for sure. And sometimes it's easier said than done. In the case of the grocery store, they have a bunch of freezers around, so that's usage that's factored in as well. But again, something to be mindful of as we head on into the warmer months.
And I'm sure this conversation will continue. The comment section is open.
Thank you, Steph. We appreciate it. When ARC Rochester current cost returns, we're sitting down with the New York State Public Service Commission chair.
We certainly are when we're back on the other side of the break. 9:47 this Wednesday as we continue to look at rising energy costs. Oversight plays a major role in this conversation.
The New York State Public Service Commission regulates utilities and approves rates, making it a key part of how these costs are set. For more on those decisions, we're joined by Rory, the chair from the New York State Public Service Commission. Rory, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Abby.
All right, so let's backtrack really quick. I want to talk about something that Patricia Nilsen, the CEO of RG&E and NYSEG, said in our interview with her at the top of the hour. She said that any rate hike or any plan that is proposed before the Public Service Commission is highly scrutinized by PCS. So what does that mean? When you get that proposal, what is the process of reviewing whether or not it goes through? In most cases, or all cases recently, it does go through.
Right. So the rate case process is something that's not unique to New York. We have our own unique version of the process, but it's something regulators throughout the country do, from California, Texas, New York, Northeast. Everyone has a similar process. And basic idea is a utility has to recover the cost of maintaining and investing in this system. And so they present a rate case looking to set rates for the recovery of those expenses over a period of time. Our job at the commission is to scrutinize that. And we do that through an 11-month legal process. It's an open and transparent process. We have stakeholders from different parts of New York State and the U.S. engaging, everything from industrial customers who use a lot of energy to public utility law project, organizations that help consumers and focused on affordability. So all types of stakeholders engage. And throughout the process, we work with the utility to identify what's actually needed now. It's critical to maintaining safety, reliability, and ensuring the system is as affordable as possible. One of the things we do our best to do is avoid gold plating the system, putting in so much money as to make the entirety of the system unaffordable to all. And so we try to manage those costs in every rate case, manage those investments to ensure we're only focusing on exactly what's needed. And the other thing to keep in mind, another thing that comes up in rate case often, storm recovery costs. Every time we have a big rainstorm, thunderstorm come through, lines get knocked down, service gets out, and we need to invest in restoring those services. NYSEG RG recently securitized almost $650 million in debt. Had that gone through the rate case process, it probably would have cost significantly more. So these are just one of the many things that we try to do to manage costs over time, working with the utilities and stakeholders, and we do that through the rate case process.
What does the utility have to say needs change or needs to be fixed that warrants a 62% increase from the October 2023 rate case and now a 36% delivery increase that's, I believe, currently before you? What does RG&E NYSEG need to say? We need to do this, or else X, Y, and Z, for the PSC to say, okay, yes, we approve this?
So again, I won't speak to the specifics of this rate case that's ongoing, but ultimately could be everything from hardening the system, putting in new transformers and substations, connecting new customers, putting new gas mains where needed. It's a lot of infrastructure costs that are required to keep the system operating. And another thing to keep in mind, we benefit from a system that has been in place for a very long time, and we need to maintain it. We have parts of the system that are 50 to 100 years old that have not been updated in recent memory. And those updates are needed, particularly if we're going to maintain the quality of service that our citizens expect and deserve. So again, it's our job to make sure that we are managing those expenses in a reasonable way to ensure that lights can stay on, homes can be heated, but do so in a way where we manage the expenses year by year to minimize the potential cost impact on customers.
But at what point does the PSC say enough is being put on the consumer right now? We get that there's infrastructure issues. The company is 167 years old or something like that. We understand the infrastructure issues, but it's not the current consumer's fault that the customer did not maintain the infrastructure.
So, the way you frame that, I want to take it back a little bit. It's not the current consumer's fault of what might have happened in the past, but we have to deal with the reality of the situation we are in today. And one of the clear things that we've seen with the increased number of storms, both in quantity and increase in severity, the system is being stressed in ways that it was not originally built to manage. And this is not an issue specific to NYSEG and RG&E. We've had to take similar efforts with other utilities throughout the state to make specific investments in hardening the infrastructure, specifically to address increased climate change events. So this is something that's happening not just here in New York, it's happening in California, it's happening in Texas, all over the country. These are things that must be done. And what we do our best to make sure that we manage those costs over time. We don't want to spend all the money in 1 year to have a 40, 50% rate increase. We want to manage that to make whatever increase that results as affordable as possible.
You know, I think some folks at home will have trouble swallowing that. They're going to say, all right, yeah, I'm not being blamed here, but I'm still the one that's footing the bill here. What would you say to those folks?
I mean, it's the way the system is set up as it is. It's a challenging one. I mean, you think about the costs that homeowners have on a given month. My cable bill is pretty consistent month to month. My cell phone bill, my landline bill. Most of my household expenses, I know what's going to happen from January to February to March. It's going to be fairly consistent. Utility bills are one of the few places where that's not the case, and that's affected by a lot of variables, everything from how cold it is outside to what the cost is in the market and other factors. So yeah, I understand the frustration. I share it too. I'm a ratepayer as well, as are all the individuals here who work in the Department of Public Service and the Public Service Commission. And we try to keep that in mind as we make these investments. Because again, a system that doesn't work is no good to anyone, no matter how affordable it may be. And we have to strike that balance. And it's achieving that balance that's a constant struggle that we're constantly working towards it.
Rory, you probably cannot say, and we're out of time, but I do want to give you an opportunity, and I want to ask, what can consumers expect from this rate case? Will this rate case go through?
So again, we're going to review the rate case. We're going to look at all the different proposals that are there, the stakeholders that are involved. They're going to participate, and we will make our determination within the 11-month period that's required.
PSC
but again,
Chair?
this is as outlined in the law. Absent the actions that we take to manage this process, the default outcome is the original utilities request. And that is something we at the Commission most definitely want to do our best to avoid. That's not an outcome we want to see.
Rory Christensen, Chair of the PSC, thank you so much for your time this morning, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stick around. We'll be right back after this. Thank you for joining us for ARC Rochester Current Cost. If you missed any of our conversation this morning, you can watch it in full on our website, 13wham.com and foxrochester.com.
Once again, here are the resources provided to us by RG&E and NYSEG. You see them there on your screen. And that does it for us here on ARC Rochester. Make sure to wake up with us again tomorrow morning starting at 4:57 over on
13 Wham, ABC. Yeah. Much more live local news coming up later today. Join Steph and Mark for 13 Wham News at midday. We'll see you then.
Bye.